What's up, everybody? How you guys doing today? It is your boy Toxic Boyo, and today we're going to be reviewing another anime series that I just recently started, and this one's going to be Fire Force. I know that it hasn't been around as long as the last anime that I reviewed, and quite frankly, I was more interested in this one going in. So we're going to go ahead and review the first two seasons that we have so far of Fire Force, or as it is called in the manga, Fire Brigade of Flames. Now, before we start getting into the nitty gritty, I just want to say a couple of things about the show. This is one of the most consistently well animated shows that I've seen in a good while. Like, it's up there with like Attack on Titan and freaking what's another really well animated show? Jujutsu Kaisen is really well animated. Because Mappa are absolute wizards, as well as God of High School. Just like this is a solidly animated show, which makes sense because it's by David Production, and JJBA is also pretty damn well animated, even though I don't like it that much. Um, on the topic of David production, there is some really solid sound design in this show. Like, nobody told me about that going in, how good it was gonna sound. Like, legitimately, the just the sound design is probably one of the main things that drew me into continuing to watch the show anyway. I was already hooked just by how it looked and how it sounded. Now, there's also a very compelling cast of characters here. It's actually kind of hard to settle on a favorite character. I uh I go back and forth between Hinoa and Arthur because they both represent, you know, pretty big sides of me. I am one of the most apathetic people you'll ever meet, and also I'm really stupid. So Arthur and Hinoa both speak to me on personal levels. I think that the setting and the world building is far more interesting here than in Okubu's previous work, which is Soul Eater. I like Soul Eater, but I don't find the world that it takes place in to be all that interesting on its own. I find the world of Fire Force to be a lot more compelling when completely isolated from all the other elements of the show. Um, the character designs, though, not particularly the most interesting or unique or dynamic, except for like each company's captain and lieutenant. I feel like Benimaru, Burns, Captain Obi, Princess Hibana. Like those are the only characters whose designs really stand out, as well as like Joker. Um, but because of the fact that everybody's pretty much wearing a work uniform, there's not a whole lot of room for everybody to have these super you know outstanding character design. So that's fine. I get it. It's not really a problem. It's just something that I noticed. Now, the eyes are something that I knew I was gonna like going in because I really like how Okubo, sorry, Okubo. I actually don't know how to say his name. Uh, draws eyes because Soul Eater has some really cool eye designs too. Even though that's not really a thing that most people talk about when it comes to that show, it's something that I personally really liked. Um, I think that the antagonists, at least in season one, are better than in Soul Eater, with the exception of Medusa. I think Medusa is probably one of my favorite bad guys in any show. Like not even just anime, any show I've ever seen. It's going to be pretty hard to top her. That you know what? Feel free to make your jokes in the comments below about that one if that's how you feel. Lastly, the show is absolutely freaking hilarious. It is probably the funniest anime I've ever seen. I don't know if that's fair to say, but nothing has made me laugh so hard, so consistently as Fire Force. Sure, Dragon Ball, Naruto, uh, JoJo, even. There's a lot of shows that have really funny moments. One Piece, Bleach, you know. I'm not saying that this is the only funny anime I've ever seen, but this show is so funny. Like there's so many great moments that stand out to me, and we'll get to a couple of those as I start actually going through each season and talking about what I overall enjoyed. Now, season one. I like that the show wastes almost no time letting you know that there are strange things when it comes to certain infernals. I think in like episode two is the first time that you see an infernal that somewhat still has the hell is that? Anyway, the first time that you see an Inferno that still has like autonomy because he's just sitting there, patiently waiting to be extinguished. He doesn't want to hurt anybody, doesn't want to go anywhere or do anything. He's just sitting there chilling. And all right, I got a text. I'm sorry. He's just sitting there chilling, and it's like, okay, well, if that's the case, then obviously there's something going on, right? Um, I feel like it also kind of scratches the same itch as Attack on Titan season one, which might sound interesting or weird to say, but the fact that there's this mystery that unfolds at a pretty satisfying rate with unexpected curveballs thrown in there is something that I haven't really seen executed well in a long time, not even in Western television. So it's not just an anime thing. Um, it does make you question the integrity of the government that the Fire Force works under if 3 of their 8 companies are corrupt in some way. Because the first has that problem with Rekka. The fifth is just strange. Princess Hibana is a weird person until Shinra shows up and changes things, and then we know what we know about the fifth. So not the fifth. Which one is Giovanni from? The third, right? Yeah, that's what I was thinking about. But I really appreciate the fact that are there is rather such a wide variety of antagonistic types of characters. Like even just have some chaotic neutral characters like Joker and Leaked that don't really do anything bad per se, but they're definitely not heroes. But I kind of feel like Joker would be a pretty good fire soldier, but I don't think he's exactly cut out for that kind of work. So we'll see what happens in the future. But I also really appreciate the diversity and perspective, particularly provided by Benny Maru. It's very interesting to see that not every company that works for the Fire Force worships Soul or even believes in that religious aspect. It's just a matter of being able to protect their town. And I really respect that. I appreciated that a lot. Um, the confrontation though, partway through the first season, I guess Rekka, was actually really interesting and led to a really good introduction for the White Clad. I didn't expect there to be like this group of conspirators in that way, so it was really cool to see that they were there and kind of operating things from the background, kind of like an Akatsuki type of group, if that makes any sense. I always like stuff like that, where it's just a group of conspirators, like an Illuminati type thing, but it's real. Now, this show does something that I can't stand in most mainstream anime. I don't like when you're watching a show and it gives you this question, it puts out some sort of like minor mystery, and then 3 seconds later it's like, oh, here you go. Spoilers for a couple of other shows. It's like, okay, I wonder, what am I thinking about? It's like, oh, okay. There's a fake leader of the Akatsuki, and then there's this actual leader. In the case of Naruto, there's this actual leader. I wonder who that is. And then he immediately steps out of the shadows and reveals that it's Toby. And it's like, oh, well, Toby, what's your deal? What's going on? And then he immediately says, I'm my Uchiha. And it's just like, ah, okay, cool. Now, granted, he wasn't actually Madara, but it's just like, well, imagine you're reading that, you turn the page, it's, man, this is going to be a pretty cool mystery to unravel, and then boom, there it is. It's like let it digest a little bit. I would prefer that because all in one conversation with Joker, you find out that not only is Shinra's brother Sho still alive, but he's also the leader of the White Clad or something to that effect. He gives some people orders, and it's like, all right, you're not gonna give any time for that sort of thing to, reveal itself organically or naturally, especially because he shows up in the next arc when they go to get Vulcan. Sho is there. That would have been a perfect opportunity to find out that he was with the White Clad. But I don't write the show. I do not write the show. Um. Also, why did nobody tell me that Patrick Seitz was the series? That'd been nice to know. That's my favorite. That's my favorite sector. He voices Jiren and Dio and Scorpion sometimes. I just feel like I've been discriminated against in an unfair capacity. Also in Endeavor, though. I feel like somebody out here owes me an explanation as to why I know that. Um, I really enjoy the cynicism on display by Shinra because he doesn't really know who he can, since all he cares about is getting answers that would help him save his family and save the world. And it's like, okay, Burns knows something that he's not letting on. This person knows something that they're not letting on. It's kind of like, because as you are experiencing the story through Shinra's eyes, what he knows is what you know. So if there's something that he is suspicious about, it makes you suspicious. And I think that that's really well executed because I feel like your focal character shouldn't have too much more information than you do if you are going to be able to connect to the story in any meaningful way. That's just something that I believe as a principle of writing. It doesn't necessarily have to apply to everything, especially because Eastern and Western storytelling uh, tend to operate in based on different principles. But I feel like that's something that could be pretty universal. But you don't have to take my word for it. You can just try it out for yourself, I guess, if you're a writer. Now, I like Shinra as a protagonist a lot. I think he has a really cool personality, but he has the same personality as every other shonen protagonist I've ever seen. He is pretty much the same character as Naruto or Deku or Yuji or Tanjiro or Ichigo or Luffy or Kid Goku. And that's just how it is. I mean, there's just a template to creating a protagonist for a series like this. And I get it, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't get old. However, there's just something about Shinra that makes him more interesting to me than characters like Deku or Tanjiro. I don't exactly know what it is. I haven't thought that much about it, but I like Shinra. Also, Iris is best girl. I don't care what anybody has to say about that. Now, the mini arc where Shinra and Arthur go to recruit Vulcan was actually surprisingly touching in a lot of minor, like little ways, especially with the way that he takes care of that kid and he has Lisa there. Although finding out that Lisa works for the Evangelist was genuinely gut wrenching, and it did what it was supposed to do. It was an effective plot reveal. I feel like I didn't see it coming, and I felt genuinely betrayed. I was like, oh really? It's like that. I also thought that the training arc with Arthur and Shinra and Asakusa, wow. They say Asakusa in the dub, but that's not how you would say it, I don't think. Was very entertaining. Who knew Benny could be such a good teacher? Although it's interesting that Arthur, being a swordsman, and Shinra shooting fire out of his feet can be trained by the same person and learn about the same amount of stuff. Like, okay, sure. But the arc that ends the season that takes place in the Nether was very satisfying. The eighth held true to their mission of saving as many people as possible. So watching the fights against Sho and Lisa was very pleasant because they clearly did not want to hurt these people because it's like these are victims of the White Clad and the Evangelists brainwashing and conditioning, basically. So we're not going to hurt these people. We're just going to try to get them out of these situations. The sloth snout joke was amazing, and I laughed for about 5 minutes. It was like 10:30 at night. I got neighbors. But the fight between Hinawa and Arrow was really good. I especially loved watching Arthur actually put his training to use. That's the best thing about a training arc is when a character learns a technique or a skill or something like that, and then they immediately start applying it. But I hate when the show moves past that. Using Naruto as an example again, the show spends like 6 episodes, probably more, on Naruto learning chakra nature transformations, right? How to change your chakra form and how to apply chakra nature. He uses that to create the Rasen Shuriken. And then chakra nature never fucking matters again because you get towards the end of the story and Naruto's throwing freaking truth seeking orbs at people. And he has all the chakra natures. So what he learned is completely irrelevant. It's like, what is the point of having a character go through this entire learning journey if what they learned is going to be completely nullified by just the course of the story? And I mean, there's nothing I can do about that, but that's just how it is. It's just something that bothers me. Now, I was enjoying the fight between Shinra and Sho up until it got kind of ridiculous with Sho stopping time and Shinra going back in time, because it just kind of felt like Jotaro versus Dio, but in the ways that I don't like, because I don't like how that fight ends with Jotaro learning how to stop time. Because okay, some people will be like, "Well, Star Platinum was always stopping time. That's why he was able to catch the bullet in the first episode." And I'm just like, do you know who else can catch bullets? Superman. You know what Superman can't do? Fucking stop time. There's no correlation between a character being able to move fast and outright stopping time. It could be argued that, Star Platinum isn't actually stopping time and he is just moving fast, but Jotaro outright said that he's stopping time. And there's no precedent for him learning how to stop time. There's no reason that he thinks he should be able to, other than it's the same kind of stand as Star Platinum. But so is Silver Chariot, so is Magician's Red, so is Hierophant Green. None of those three could stop time, as far as I know. So what made him think that because his stand is similar to Dio's, that he has the same ability as Dio? Especially because Dio discovered his ability to stop time by utter accident. It's whatever. So when I was watching Shinra versus Sho, and it's like, okay, Sho can stop time, I'm like, how? How are you going to sit here and justify that as a fire-based ability? What type of pyrokinetic power is time stop? And I didn't really like the justification. It felt kind of silly. And then Shinra also gaining the ability to fly at light speed and then go faster than light speed, because he goes so fast that his body breaks apart. But after that, after he dies, he goes faster, which sends him back in time. And I'm like, but what tactical advantage does going back in time have? Because you still have to actually attack. Whatever. There's a whole, it's like, well, he needs the grace of the evangelist. Why did the evangelist give him grace if he's not on their side? Just that part got really annoying and ridiculous. I didn't like that much. Apart from that, though, I really enjoyed the final arc. It didn't really get to a level of silliness that ruined my enjoyment, but it did kind of break the immersion, and I'm not gonna feel bad for feeling that way. I like what I like in storytelling, and that just wasn't something that I was crazy about. Now, the info dump that we got from Burns after all that stuff was over and Shinra got out of the hospital, I really enjoyed that because it felt earned. Because this entire season, we've been just as clueless to these grander elements as Shinra has been. So finding out that that Sho started the fire because Haumea messed with his brain. Well, they don't know. I don't think they know that element yet. But to find out that, yeah, that Sho was the one that started the fire, and that the demon infernal that Shinra was just so sure that he saw, that was hard to say. Shinra was just so sure that he saw, was actually his mother, who he's been, trying to avenge this whole time. And then his mission changes from avenging his mother to saving his mother, because due to what we know about infernals, especially demon infernals, we know that she's still kind of alive out there somewhere. So it's very easy for for you as a viewer to switch over and be like, yes, go save your mom, Shinra. Like, his goals are very admirable and also very easy to identify with. So that's why I enjoy Shinra. But maybe that's why I like Shinra as a protagonist. His goals just feel more realistic than some other characters. Particularly named Kennen. I won't say anything more about him because people don't like when I do that. Now, that's pretty much all I had to say about season 1. Let's move on to season 2. Someone on Okubo's editorial team must have told him when he was writing this part of the manga that the fans really liked the side characters and wanted more from them, because this season absolutely delivers on that. The first episode starts out, as a nice little slice of life, but it kind of turns into something huge, and it proposes this question that actually does come back later in the season. That infernal with multiple cores. It's like, well, how does that type of creature come to exist? And you actually find out later on how that comes to exist, and I really appreciate that. I love the episode where Shinra is kind of like possessed by some sort of evil Adola Link. We didn't really know too much about Adola Links and Adola Bursts because we'd heard about them, but they hadn't really given us too much information on what that is or what it does up to this point. But that also helps us later on, because it's another thing that comes up again. The season's actually really good on proposing something and then answering it later. Now, Captain Hagu, strange fella, but I don't kink shame. But the following arc is where the antagonists start to become a lot less interesting, in my opinion. I don't care much for Haumea, and I thought Inca was just the worst thing ever. I hate Inca to her core. She's so vapid, and it really bothered me that her whole motivator was being around danger. Does she not realize how dangerous the Fire Force is? If she wants to be surrounded by danger, why not become a fucking superhero? Do you. Ha, it pissed me off. I hated it so much. I thought it was so stupid. She joined the people that killed one of her only friends, and then she killed the other one because she's crazy and stupid. It's like, bruh. Now, the rest of the Fire Force assembling to extinguish the rest of the fire in the town and put that demon in front to rest was a lot more interesting. I kind of wish that had been the main focus. I guess Charn's pretty cool, though. He's the only, like, antagonistic character introduced in this part of the story that I like at all. Mostly because of his personality, though. Now, the following arc with the Chinese Peninsula is far and away the best one of the entire series, still. Although, I have a very important request for you. For the love of all things, please watch this part dubbed and listen to Juggernaut when he's around his family. It is so damn funny. I I was crying. Like, I'm not even kidding you. I was crying laughing. It was so good. Now, this arc is what I meant for the most part when I was referring to the side characters getting more time to shine, because it happens a lot in this part. Also, Scope is the best boy. This arc served as the most interesting, as it put forth the idea that Amaterasu, basically the Japanese Empire's nuclear power plant that was built by Vulcan's family a couple generations ago, is actually being powered by somebody with an Adola burst, because there's a smaller version of Amaterasu out here on the peninsula that is powered by somebody with an Adola burst. Which, I mean, the wildlife just knows that some lady came and turned on this machine and now they have life. They didn't really understand the deeper intricacies of what that all entailed. That was for us as the audience and the main characters in the story to figure out and understand what all that stuff means. So that was actually really interesting. But finding out that Leaked was actually a Hajime spy was pretty interesting as well. Unless that was revealed prior or like hinted at by something and I missed it, which is entirely possible. My brain be kind of dumb. But the opening for this portion of the series actually pointed out a parallel that I hadn't noticed before, that Joker and Burns are missing opposite eyes. I was like, oh, huh. Interesting. So that little mini arc of Joker and Benimaru investigating the Soul Temple together to uncover the truth was really enjoyable, as well as learning about Joker's past, because he had a backstory that I didn't see coming. It was kind of shocking, honestly. So I really enjoyed watching him get revenge on the man who abused him and definitely molested him. That was very satisfying to see. Not particularly excited about being blue-balled about Waka versus Burns. That's a fight that I've been wanting to see since they said that Benny was the strongest captain. I was like, is he? Have him fight Burns, because we've seen Burns' power by that point. We hadn't really seen what Benimaru was capable of yet. Although I will say, he tried very hard to put the hurt on Captain Obi, and it didn't really work out that well for him, did it? Um, I didn't realize though that everybody that had some sort of encounter with Adola had a disfigurement. That was an interesting detail that I'm sure some people caught on to while they were reading it or while they were watching it before it got pointed out, but I'm dumb, and that was just a thing that I hadn't seen yet. So I like that. I did not find as much enjoyment in the following arc that takes place though at the Hajime Lab. As I said before, the antagonists introduced in season 2 just aren't that interesting. And apart from Kurono definitely needing to be put on the list somewhere, he isn't very compelling, and neither is the girl with the puppets. What are they? Dominions? I don't remember her name. So that's how you know I didn't care that much about her. Um, I did like the element that Rega left such impact on Nakatu that he's pretty much traumatized to the bone by what this man did to him. Which, I mean, as a kid who has had my trust in adults betrayed before, I totally understand that. That was something that messed me up for a while, and I actually really connected with seeing it here in the realm of fiction. I like that. But as I said before, the antagonist introduced in whoops, I read the wrong note. Let's keep going. The conclusion to the arc was pretty enjoyable though. After seeing Charon's full strength on display, and watching him deflect a nuclear blast so hard that he punched a crater into the moon, I'm like, yo, Shinra, you're not beating this guy. That's just not gonna happen. It's a wrap for you. Don't even worry about it, bro. We all have our days. And poor Assault, dude. He's never gonna be able to beat Tamaki. He tried his best, but she's just Tamaki. Oh man. I wasn't really a fan of the following arc with another either. Maybe I missed something, but I wasn't really quite sure why the White Cloud were trying to blow up the city. That they made it clear that they needed 8 pillars, and they currently have 3. If they want to bring about the Great Cataclysm, they need more pillars. But why are they doing this smaller attack? Because there's a chance that Shinra Kusakabe, wow, there's a chance that he won't survive, and you guys definitely want him, right? Because he is a pillar. There's a chance that Nakatu won't survive, and you need him because he is a pillar. So what is the point of blowing up the city? It's not going to help you. You don't have enough pillars, whatever. I'm also not quite sure why they just happened to have the pyramid head looking guys on standby as if they knew they were going to be fighting against an invasion that day. That's kind of strange. They anticipate the arrival of the Fire Force? I don't know. It was interesting enough to watch, though, especially Maki's brother being mad at Hinawa for the entirety of it, as well as Shinra and Arthur versus Giovanni. If you haven't noticed, I really like Shinra and Arthur together. They're a very good. They're a very good duo. I loved watching Juggernaut have his time to shine, and I'm very glad that he got to, make a super big impact on the battle. Although I was very hurt and very scared when I thought he was dead. I was like, don't do this to me. I can't lose Juggernaut. He's my favorite side character, hands down. And I look forward to watching Tamaki grow as a character because as of right now, I don't care much for her. She she was okay up until the end of season 1, beginning of season 2, when she started acting super bitchy towards Shinra for no reason. Shinra as a character hasn't changed that much in that, part of the story. So I'm trying to figure out like why does Tamaki hate him so much suddenly? Is it because he got hurt? Like, I was good with it. And then it just went away. Just went away. And then all of a sudden she's like, oh, I'm done being weak. I was like, and the second training arc with Betty was highly entertaining. I think I like it more than the first one. So overall, I really like the show. Season 1 is probably one of the best seasons of anime I've ever seen. And season 2 was only a little bit less enjoyable. I mean, out of the 3 arcs, no. There were 4 arcs in season 2. I really liked one of them. I thought 2 of them were okay, and I didn't like the last one very much at all. But I still really enjoyed season 2 overall, especially because of a lot of the character work that gets done, especially with Maki, Arthur, not, oh, I guess, yeah, Arthur, Shinra, Hinawa, there's a lot of good stuff that gets done. My boys Benny and Joker. Burns didn't have as much of a role in this one as he did in the last one. However, the season ends with this thing that's like, okay, the White Clad are going after people who have made contact with Adola. And Burns is one of the people who has made contact with Adola. So Burns is going to have to fight to defend himself sometime soon, which is not something we've seen him do yet. So I'm very excited to see Burns fighting at what could be his full potential, but we'll have to see about that. This is definitely my favorite new anime that I've seen in a while. In the last 7 or 8 years, I've started a lot of new or recent anime, like My Hero, God of High School, JJK, what's it called? Demon Slayer, Food Wars, JoJo. Well, I mean, I guess JoJo started a while ago, but it didn't get really popular until like part 3, I guess. Like, I've been watching a lot of stuff that's been coming out from the last decade, I would say. And Fire Force is definitely my favorite out of all of it. The only thing that might kind of edge it out is the first season of Attack on Titan. I really think that the writing in that season is unfuckwittable. There's almost no flaws in season one's structure and progression and writing. The only thing that's bad about it is its dub. The dub of Attack on Titan doesn't really get good until like season two. But hey, that's just a theory, a film theory. Have you guys been watching Fire Force? I sure hope so, because I would hate to have just spoiled everything that happens in the first two seasons, or well, all that we have to watch so far, and you guys haven't even seen the show yet. So, all that being said, I hope you enjoyed this long-winded, breathy review of Fire Force, and I'll see you soon.